Control Houston, and welcome to our live coverage of U.S. EVA number 26. This will be the 179th spacewalk in support of International Space Station maintenance and construction. Right now inside the International Space Station, two NASA astronauts, Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson, in the final stages of preparation as they get ready to head outside of the Quest airlock for a scheduled 2.5-hour EVA to replace a failed backup relay computer on the outside section of the International Space Station. Inside the airlock on the right there is Rick Mastracchio. He will be EV1, or the lead spacewalker throughout today's activities. He'll be identified by wearing the suit with the red stripes, which you can see right on the thigh region below. And on the left there is NASA astronaut Steve Swanson, and he'll be in the suit with no stripes and designated as EV2. Inside the airlock right now, Expedition 39 Commander and Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata is assisting the astronauts as they have finished all of their pre-breathing activities, and the next major step for them before they head outside will be the depressurization of the station airlock. That's scheduled to come in just a little under 20 minutes from now. Following that depress, when it's brought down to vacuum, the astronauts will eventually switch their suits to battery power, which will signal the start of the EVA. Again, this EVA today expected to last 2.5 hours. Just one major task on the list today for these astronauts, and that is to replace the external MDM, or multiplexer demultiplexer number 2, backup relay computer responsible for commanding a number of station external systems, among them the solar alpha rotary joints, which control the station's solar arrays. Also, the mobile transporter rail car also provides insight into a number of other systems on the truss, or the backbone of the International Space Station. It failed after a routine health check back on April 11th. And so the astronauts will be taking a spare from on board the station outside, doing a quick swap out, and then coming back in. They have one other get-ahead task on the list, a fairly minor procedure. They will be cutting a lanyard over a door, over one of the secondary power distribution assembly doors, right above where the MDM is located. Very quick task. They'll be snipping the lanyard in order to open it up for eventual access by the station's robotic assistant Dexter, or the special purpose Dexter's manipulator, so it would be able to get inside and manipulate the remote power controller module inside, basically a power relay box. So that'll be the only secondary task on the list today. Expected to be a very quick, concise, and short spacewalk for these two today. This will be Rick Mastracchio's 9th spacewalk. He's done 8 previously. Comes in at 6 on the all-time list for spacewalking time, with 51 hours and 28 minutes total. This will be Steve Swanson's 5th. He did 4 spread across 2 previous shuttle missions, with a total elapsed time of 26 hours and 22 minutes. So again, the two inside of the Quest airlock right now. In their final preparations, they've completed their pre-breathe activities, basically those done to eliminate the chance of decompression sickness during this spacewalk. The atmospheric pressure inside of the suits only 4.3 psi, quite a bit below the normal atmosphere that they are living in on board the station of 14.7, which is the same atmospheric pressure we have down here at sea level. They do a number of activities for this pre-breathe, the first of which donning a mask for about 60 minutes, where they breathe pure oxygen while the airlock is depressurized to only around 10.2 psi. All of this activity done in order to purge excess nitrogen that of decompression sickness. Nitrogen bubbles will form in the tissues or the bloodstream and have a chance to move to other parts of the body. So the spacewalkers do this pre-breathe protocol, breathing through the mask, and then suiting up and doing what's known as in-suit light exercise to help speed up the process. That all done to get any excess nitrogen out of the body. This done in place of a former camp-out procedure that used to be the normal operating procedure, which would have the astronauts spend the night overnight inside of the airlock. This pre-breathe and in-suit light exercise, though, cutting down the process to only a few hours and eliminating that need for camp-out.
We're in Maddox replacement procedure 2.120, step 9. GMT is 12:35, and now we're going to step 10.
Copy. Thanks, Koichi.
And you just heard Koichi Wakata calling down on the ground just to go through some of the people here in Mission Control Houston today. Leading the Orbit 2 team currently inside is Flight Director Brian Smith. He's there in the center wearing the blue tie. He'll be overseeing the team throughout all the procedures today. Seated right next to him is today's Capcom Ricky Arnold, who will be talking with the crew on board the station. And missing in action right now, but getting back there pretty soon, will be the ground IV, Jeremy Hansen. He'll be responsible for talking to the two spacewalking astronauts, Mastracchio and Swanson, throughout their procedures today. Also inside of the room is the lead EVA officer for EVA 26, Glenda Brown. She'll be heading up the team that was responsible for planning and executing this spacewalk. You can see her there in the dotted shirt. Sitting right behind. She'll be leading the team and has led the team throughout all the planning process for this spacewalk, getting it together very quickly, as again the failure only occurred less than 2 weeks ago, back on April 11th. So the team working pretty quickly in conjunction with a lot of other activities taking place on this short 2-week time span, a lot of visiting vehicle activity, as well as getting this spacewalk together. So a lot of long hours for the teams here in Houston, and even longer hours for the astronauts on board. But at this point, they are getting ready to finally execute this EVA and get that MDM, that failed MDM, replaced. So as I just mentioned, a lot of activity taking place in these past 2 weeks. Another major dynamic event occurring earlier this morning with the Russian Progress 53 cargo ship, one of 2 unmanned cargo craft launched by the Russians, currently docked to the International Space Station. It undocked from its port on the aft end of Zvezda earlier this morning at 3:58 a.m. Central Time. The craft, which has been docked since launching to the International Space Station in November of last year, is going to be doing a test of some upgraded Coors automated rendezvous system equipment. The system hoped to be incorporated inside of some of the future Progress vehicles. The aim to be to reduce the overall weight of the vehicle by eliminating several of the navigation antennas located on board. This will enable the Progress to carry even more supplies with the decreased weight of the vehicle itself. So this test, the undocking occurring without any issues earlier this morning. The Progress executing a series of separation burns to move away to a distance of a little over 300 miles from the station. It'll do its test out and then redock to Zvezda about 2 days from now on Friday at 7:15 a.m. Central Time. So we're still a little over 11 minutes from that depress. The crew continuing their final preparations, getting their tools attached and assisted by Koichi Wakata throughout. As mentioned, this is expected to be a fairly quick spacewalk today in terms of traditional times, only lasting about 2.5 hours if everything goes as planned. Lead EVA Officer Glenda Brown earlier this week at a status briefing gave a walkthrough of the task and showed off the box that the two astronauts will be replacing. Why don't we take a quick look at what Rick and Steve Swanson have to look forward to when they step outside of the station airlock in just about an hour from now.
So our EVA to repair the MDM, or external multiplexer demultiplexer, will begin as we always do at the Quest airlock. As you can see here in the center of the photo, we egress through the airlock at the nadir hatch. EB1 will exit the airlock first. That'll be Rick coming out first, and Steve will follow him out. Between the two of them, they'll manage the hardware that they're bringing out. We're showing several bags here, but what we really boiled down to now is just the one ORU bag containing the MDM that will translate to the worksite. They're going to carry all their other tools on their persons. They'll translate up the CETA spur, up to the handrail, up to the S0 face 1, and work along the CETA handrail. Face 1 is where the mobile transporter that holds the SSRMS is normally parked, right over the top of these MDMs. We've moved that out of the way, and it's at Worksite 2 now. They'll be getting into position, stowing the bag that's got the ORU in it, stowing any other tools that they bring with them that they want to have handy. And then Rick will get into position in a heads-down position in front of the MDM. There's the MDM right there, and we're going to, rather than show him over the top of the box, we'll leave him out of the way for the purposes of this video. When they get to the work site, they're going to look around and see if they can find any damage. If it's daylight, we'll take some photos. If it's darkness, we'll go ahead and proceed to get the work done. Rick will get into position and remove the handling tool, or the scoop. We call that a scoop because it looks like an ice cream scoop. He'll remove that, and then he will drive the 3 bolts that are on the front of the MDM. I've got the MDM here in the room, and I'll show you that when we're completed with the video. Steve will be standing by and helping him out with access to any of the tools that he needs, taking anything away from him and stowing it. Here we have him just handling the scoop to give you an idea of how he would be moving things around. So the scoop gets installed on the front of the box. We've decided to bring it out installed on the front of the ORU bag, and we'll install it here onto the failed unit. We have to drive the bolts first before we install the scoop, and so it'll be ready to pull right on out as soon as we drive those bolts. We'll stow it out of the way, and we picked a nice safe spot that we'll most likely use down inside the truss. We'll tie it off to a handrail there so it's out of the way while we do the work with the new box. There'll be an inspection of the cold plate and the bracket that holds the blind mate connectors, which I'll be showing you in more detail afterwards. And then they'll access the new MDM out of the ORU bag. Steve will help out as needed to hand that off to Rick. They'll be inspecting both the new ORU and the cold plate one last time before they slide the two together. Again, it's got 3 bolts, so we'll just install the center jacking bolt first and then use the other 2 tie-down bolts to hold it in place. If we should have any trouble with either of the outside bolts that hold it in place, we'll be good to go with just the center jacking bolt. That just provides some extra security to the box. Then we take the scoop off of the new ORU, stow it for return to the airlock, and then pack up all of our tools, pack up the ORU bag, and do some final inspections. If we haven't had daylight when we first come out, we'll take the photos at the end of the work, and then pack up everything and come inside. I'm sorry, we have to pack up the ORU. The failed ORU goes back into the ORU bag before we can come back to the airlock with it. So grab the bags and head back inside. We follow the same translation path that we come out to the work site on to return back down to the airlock. So you can see it's a pretty simple EVA. in terms of the overall work that we have to do. It's just coming out to the airlock, driving 3 bolts to remove the failed unit, removing it, temp stowing it, and then installing the new one. Very straightforward. At the end of the EVA, they'll come back inside, and we'll be done. So now if we can look at the MDM that I brought with me. So this is what the size of the box looks like. The one difference is this mock-up is for a new box that we're going to be installing next summer on an EVA, and it will not, the box we're working on does not have this electrical connector. That is an upgrade for the new system that'll be installed next year, summer of 2015. So the bolts that I mentioned are right here at the bottom of the ORU. It's got the 2 tie-down bolts here, and then the primary bolt, which is in the middle, that's the jacking bolt. So in order to remove it, you release the 2 outside fasteners first, and then drive the bolt in the primary bolt. And what that does is you drive that bolt out, it screws the box just a little bit, and it'll slowly drive the box out. And then once it's free, they can pull it out of the work site. I'm going to set this here for just a moment to talk to you about what the work site looks a little bit like. This is one of the plastic mock-ups that we have from the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, so it's not exactly flight-like, but it does give you an idea of how the installation works. So when you look at the installation bracket, the blind mate connectors will be inside this bracket here. And those will mate with the ones that are on the back side of the MDM. So the MDM has mating connectors, electrical and power and data, in the back of it. The cold plate that it's mounted to is right down here, and then it has these 3 wedge locks that are at the back of it. And the way it works is when you slide the 2 together, you can see there's pins that are on the ORU that go into the slots right here. There's 4 pins that'll just slide into those slots. And then as the 2 come together, the wedges that are on the cold plate interface with the wedges that are on the the bottom side of the ORU. So this is actually a wedge, and then as you put the 2 together, the 4 pins go into the slots, you put the 2 together, and then the wedges come together in the back. As you drive the bolt, when it gets to the wedges drive next to each other to put a nice preload onto the bottom of the box, so it's very firmly mated to the cold plate so that it gets good cooling. With all the electronics in the box, there's quite a bit of heating that builds up there, and we need to make sure that it's got good thermal conductivity with the cold plate on the box.
And welcome back inside Mission Control Houston. That again, a walkthrough of today's EVA task by Lead EVA Officer Glenda Brown, who's inside the room now, overseeing the EVA team that will support this spacewalk today. Back inside of the Quest airlock, you can see Expedition 39 Commander Koichi Wakata standing there. He's holding on to one of the safer units, or the simplified aid for EVA rescue. It's a small jetpack-like device, if you will, that attaches to the very bottom of the astronaut's portable life support system, or the backpack part of their spacesuits. It is their secondary mode for if they were to become detached or untethered from the International Space Station at any time. It can be used to reorient the astronauts in case they were in a tumble or anything of that nature, and then get them back safely to the station structure. Basically a life vest for these spacewalking astronauts, but they'll be tethered at multiple points throughout the spacewalk to ensure they're always attached to the structure and aren't in any danger of floating away. Wakata getting the safer ready for attaching to the back of Rick Mastracchio's suit. He's again in the suit with the red stripes, will be EV1. Once we get the helmet cam views from the spacewalking astronauts, Mastracchio will have a small 20 in the lower corner of his view, and then Steve Swanson will have a small number 1818 in the lower corner of his view. just under 5 minutes from now, the expected go for depress. It may be delayed slightly. The crew a few minutes behind their task today, but we'll continue to work forward towards it. The expected start time of the spacewalk today was 8:20 a.m. Central Time. That may or may not be pushed back a few minutes, but we'll see if the crew, as they continue to work along. Again, the spacewalk very short today, an elapsed time expected of only 2.5 hours with just the main MDM swap task on the list, and then the secondary get-ahead task of cutting a lanyard on one of the secondary power and distribution assembly doors. Again, Wakata affixing that safer unit to the back of Mastracchio's suit right now. He'll be working from inside the International Space Station to provide any support necessary to the spacewalking astronauts. Typically, the remaining astronaut inside will often be responsible for operating the station's robotic arm, but no robotic operations will be necessary for this quick repair job. Again, Expedition 39 Commander Koichi Wakata working inside of the Quest airlock with the two spacewalking astronauts, Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson. Wakata fixing the safer device to Mastracchio's EMU, his extra-vehicular mobility unit, the big white spacesuit that he's wearing. That'll be one of the final tasks as the crew gets ready to depressurize the Quest airlock. Once they're able to do that, the suits will officially be switched to battery power, which will mark the start of today's EVA. For now, they're finishing up all their final preparation work. The crew started off earlier this morning doing their pre-breathe several hours ago, bringing the airlock down to only about 10 psi and breathing pure oxygen through a mask for about 60 minutes. After that, they were go for suit up and don their EMUs inside of the Quest airlock, eventually moving on to their in-suit light exercise. The suits operating at a much lower pressure than the ambient pressure inside of the station. Inside the suit, they're in an atmosphere at only about 4.3 psi. This necessary to make movement inside the suit much easier. As a much higher pressure in vacuum, the astronauts would basically be unable to move or would have to fight really hard just to do something as simple as move their arms around. So the much lower pressure of the suit necessary, but they have to go through a number of steps to safeguard their bodies against any potential decompression sickness symptoms. So doing this pre-breathe and in-suit light exercise beforehand to prepare. Quite a bit quite a bit of work done prior to the EVA to make sure these suits were in a good position to go out and do the spacewalk. The suit, Rick Mastracchio wearing suit 3011, already having a new fan pump separator device. If you recall, the spacewalk back in July of last year, European astronaut Luca Parmitano had some water escape into his helmet. The fan pump separator identified as one of the most likely culprits for that anomaly inside the suits. So the suits each getting a new fan pump separator replacement. Mastracchio's suit already getting that, and the two astronauts doing a replacement on suit 3005, which will be worn by Steve Swanson for his EVA, to make sure that the suits are in a good posture. Mission controller is confident that they've will avoid any potential water in the helmet anomalies, just in case, for safety's sake. As always, though, since that July spacewalk, and just like we did back in December for the two pump replacement spacewalks, there will be a snorkel device and an absorption pad inside the helmet, again, just in case. A new spacesuit also just arrived on board the International Space Station, EMU 3003, which was brought up on SpaceX's Dragon, arriving just on Sunday. That spacesuit will undergo a number of on-orbit checkouts to ensure its integrity. This is the first EMU brought up to the station that didn't arrive on a space shuttle, so a few new procedures being drawn up to ensure the integrity of that spacesuit before being used for EVA. But again, a lot of get-ahead work done to make sure that we're in a good and safe posture to go out and do this spacewalk. Again, expected to only last about 2.5 hours today. Short handover between satellites, and we'll reacquire video signal very shortly with the International Space Station, which is currently flying just about 260 statute miles over the southern Pacific. It should be coming into a daylight pass pretty soon, so we should have good daylight for the beginning of this spacewalk. On the map trailing behind the station, you can see the icon for the Progress 53 vehicle, which undocked successfully earlier this morning at around 3:58 a.m. Central Time in order to perform its test of updated Coors rendezvous equipment. Now we have video again back inside. You can see Rick Mastracchio floating off in the background there. Coming back into the Quest airlock is Expedition 39 Commander Koichi Wakata, assisting Swanson and Mastracchio with all of the suit-up activities today, and will be standing by inside of the station to provide any support that he can, and helping walk through procedures, offering tips and any views that he can get from inside of the station to the astronauts outside. They'll have a pretty short climb from the Quest airlock over to the portion of the S0 truss where this MDM is located. Both tasks today, the main one being that MDM replacement, and the secondary get ahead of cutting the lanyard on the SPDA door, both located very close together. You can see the SPDA door here. That lanyard that Steve Swanson likely will be responsible for cutting was installed as a launch constraint device back when the S0 truss was launched to the International Space Station. It was delivered back in April of 2002. The MDM itself already installed inside of the truss when it was launched. Swanson will be responsible for cutting that to eventually clear the way for the station's robotic assistant, the Special Dexterous Manipulator System, or Dexter, as it's commonly referred to down here on the ground, to potentially do a removal and replacement activity on one of the RPCs inside, one of the remote power controllers. Basically a power relay device for directing power to a number of systems. Cutting that lanyard, again, will allow Dexter access, so Swanson will cut it and make sure the doors can be open and shut fairly easily, and that'll be the only backup task on the list for the two today. Steve Swanson now floating free. It'll be his turn to get that safer device attached to the back of his portable life support system. On the front of the astronauts, you can see the tool belts attached. The astronauts have quite a few tools for today's task. They'll have, as always, the pistol grip tool, which will be used to drive the 3 bolts on the external MDM in order for them to replace it. They also have a few tools for the potential removal of what's known as cotherm, or basically it's a thin insulating material on these MDMs that's installed to increase the conductivity between the MDM and the cold plate. You can see what the cotherm looks like here. When you're in a vacuum, there are still very small microscopic gaps between if you were to put 2 pieces of steel together, so the cotherm acts to close those gaps and greatly increase the conductivity between the heat dissipation systems on the MDM down to the cold plate to help carry away as much heat that is generated from running as possible. When they remove the failed MDM, there might be a little bit of cotherm left over on the cold plate, so the astronauts with a scraping device ready to get any potential leftover debris off. And then they installed a new cotherm layer using a modified version of the stuff that was already on board to the spare MDM, which up until this point has resided inside of the station's Destiny laboratory. The spare was delivered to the station back on STS-100 in April of 2001, so it's been on board for several years now. One of the first items to arrive up on the station. It was checked out using a device known as the Moot on board and made sure that it was in working order before they carried it outside. Once the MDM is installed, they will bring it up to what's known as a diagnostic mode in order to do the initial checkouts of the device, and then the software will be loaded by teams down here on the ground, just general patches to bring it up to the most current software date, as again it's been on board the station since April of 2001. And then the new MDM expected to be made the primary following its installation and checkout. And then the current EXT-1 MDM will be made the backup. So again, Wakata now attaching the safer device, the simplified aid for EVA rescue, onto the portable life support backpack of Steve Swanson's EMU. Once he gets that attached, Swanson will join Mastracchio inside of the outer portion of the Quest airlock, where they'll close the hatch and eventually switch their suits over to battery power, which will mark the start of the spacewalk today. They'll then open up the hatch and begin to translate out over to that S0 truss, carrying with them the spare MDM, which will be installed to replace the failed one, which will be brought back inside for diagnostics and possible repair. There's a number of controller cards inside of each MDM. Faulty one expected to be the culprit for this MDM failure. So they'll be able to do a checkout and potentially replace a few of those cards to make sure that it will then become a viable backup or a spare, if you will, should the case arise for them to go out and do another replacement task in the future. So right now they've just about completed donning the safer devices onto the EMUs, the spacesuits that Swanson and Mastracchio will be wearing. Just to recap, Rick Mastracchio will be referred to as EV1 throughout the day's activities and will be wearing the suit with the red stripe across the legs. This will be his 9th spacewalk. Mastracchio currently sitting at 6th all-time on the spacewalking time list with a total cumulative count of 51 hours and 28 minutes. Steve Swanson will be conducting his 5th EVA. He has 4 currently spread across 2 different shuttle missions with a total elapsed time of 26 hours and 22 minutes. Mastracchio's helmet cam will come with the number 2020 in the bottom corner, and Steve Swanson's helmet cam will be number 1818. So here inside of the Quest airlock, Koichi Wakata finishing up the work on Steve Swanson's spacesuit. He just affixed the safer, or the simplified aid for EVA rescue onto the back of his portable life support system. Swanson will soon move into the outer portion of the Quest airlock and join Mastracchio, where they will get ready for the eventual depressurization of the airlock module, and then switch over to battery power on their suits and begin today's EVA officially. Then be ready to move outside of the station airlock into the vacuum of space and move straight to their only major task for the day, the swap out of that failed multiplexer demultiplexer, with Swanson also likely doing the get-ahead task of snipping the lanyard on the SPD-8 door. Again, continuing to stand by once we see Swanson begin to move out into the external portion. We'll know we're getting a little bit closer to that depressurization. The crew running just a few minutes behind schedule right now, but again, not a big crunch for time on today's spacewalk. Expected a elapsed time of only 2.5 hours, so continuing to work towards that depress and eventual switch over to battery power. NASA astronaut Steve Swanson making his way into the outer portion of the Quest airlock. The next step for Expedition 39 Commander Koichi Wakata will be to close the hatchway between himself and the two spacewalking astronauts, at which point Quest will begin depressurization, bringing the portion the two spacewalkers are in down to vacuum, where they will then be able to open up the hatch, move outside into the vacuum of space, and begin their spacewalk for today. Right now you can see Koichi Wakata, he's actually speaking to Mr. Akio and Swanson right now through one of the station's internal loops, running into the helmets of the astronauts, each of them wearing a comm cap, affectionately called a Snoopy cap, which has all their communication equipment inside of their helmet. Pretty soon we'll be able to start hearing Mr. Akio and Swanson's voices on the loops. And they'll be coordinating all the day's events with the ground IV Jeremy Hansen, an astronaut from the Canadian Space Agency, who will be responsible for walking the crew through their procedures from his seat down here in Mission Control Houston. The crew has trained extensively for this specific EVA. It is one of the designated 12 major spacewalks that would require a contingency EVA as soon as possible, similar to the pump failure that occurred back in December. So the astronauts have trained for this one in this.
To step 44 and working on step 45 for deactivating CO2 removal.
We're following along, Koichi.
Use an airlock on one in step 45.3. Remove the Maddox canister. Serial numbers are 16 and 7.
Good numbers, Koichi. Thank you.
Houston Airlock on 1. We're in step 50, closing the IV hatch at this time.
Copy.
So Station Commander Koichi Wakata now closing the hatch between the portion of Quest that will be depressurized and the inner portion where the EMUs are typically stored. Once this hatch is closed, we'll be just about ready to begin the depressurization of that outer portion of Quest, where Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson are currently floating around in their fully built and ready EMUs. Once the depressurization is complete, they'll be able to switch their suits over to battery power, which will mark the official start of EVA 26, expected to last for about 2.5 hours. Here you can see an external view of the Quest airlock. The two astronauts will move out of the nadir hatch, which is at the right side of the screen. They'll move out and quickly translate over to the S0 truss, where will be their only work site today, where they will replace that failed MDM unit and do the get-ahead task of cutting a lanyard on the SPDA door. But again, expected to be a quick and concise spacewalk today for these two, which between the two of them have over 77 hours of combined spacewalking experience amongst them. So Wakata closing the hatch will ensure that they have a good seal.
Houston Airlock on 1 in step 52, verified emergency closed.
Copy. Of step 53.
Copy that. Houston Airlock on 1. Pre-breathe is complete, and with your go, we will go to the crew lock depress portion of the Q card.
Standby 1, Koichi.
Look, we have Ricky.
Okay, Koichi, 53.3 is complete. Your go to pick up in step 54. Swanee, good to hear your voice.
Good to hear you too, Doug. Ricky.
Okay, copy that, Ricky. Then 54, the first two steps are complete. So we're going to go to the crew lock depress portion of the crew lock depress repress Q card at this time.
Hey, and Rick, can we get a voice check with you?
Yeah, Houston, I got you loud and clear.
Have you the same?
Okay, Houston, do we have a go to proceed to the Q car?
You have a go. We're just going around the room, Koichi.
Okay, copy that.
So the crew now getting ready to begin that deep press. Heard a good voice check from Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson floating inside of their spacesuits in Quest right now.
Check switch on frequency in low.
EV1 low. EV2 low.
Check switch comp mode in pry.
EV1 pry. EV2 pry.
Mastracchio EV1, Swanson EV2.
Action, switch depress pump power to on, and wait 10 seconds for complete startup.
Copy and work. There's a 10 seconds.
10 seconds past. Depress pump manual ISO valve is open and expect alert tone.
It works. It is open.
Okay, on DCM, monitor suit P gauge less than 5.5.
Copy, will do.
And if the gauge shows more than 5.5, stop depress and we will check with Houston.
So the depressurization has begun. That'll take about 10 minutes until the airlock is down to a pressure of only 5 psi. Again, remember the pressure inside of the astronaut spacesuits operating at about 4.3 psi. The station itself at a nominal sea level pressure of 14.7. And of course, once they get outside of the Quest airlock, they will be in the vacuum of space, or zero. So the depressurization, a gradual process, has begun at 8:26 a.m. Central Time.
Here goes my relief valve. Very good. Mine just went too. What pressure are we going to? We're going to 5. We'll do a leak check at 5. We get a tone at 6.
The Quest airlock continuing to depressurize with Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson inside their spacesuits inside of Quest. They'll pause at about 5 psi, which takes about 10 minutes from the beginning of depress. So we're about 5 minutes away from that. And they'll do a series of quick leak checks on their suits, make sure there's no issues before they continue on with the depressurization. Generally about 5 minutes or so after the depress is complete, they'll be able to flip the switch on their suits over to battery power, which will mark the official start time of EVA 26. But for now, continuing to stand by while the pressure inside of Quest continues to count down. Right now marching towards 5 psi.
Okay, guys, crew lock pressures getting close to 6.0, and then at 6 you will expect alert tone, and at 5 psi there's an action, depress up manual isolation valve to close.
Copy, at 5 we'll get the valve closed.
As we just heard Koichi Wakata say, the airlock approaching 6 psi. And again, once it gets down to 5, they'll close the valve and pause the depress for a few moments while they conduct a quick leak checks on their suits. And then following successful leak checks, they'll open the valve back up and continue the depress, or the depressurization, until the station airlock gets brought down to vacuum. At that point, about 5 minutes later, they'll be able to switch their suits over to battery power, open up the outer hatch of Quest, and venture out into the vacuum of space to begin this spacewalk, scheduled to last about 2.5 hours this morning.
Guess I'm getting a tone. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, PCS shows it's around the 6 psi in the crew lock.
Yeah. I got my tone. Yeah, so do I.
So the two spacewalkers reporting they got their expected alert tones while it continues to count down from 14 psi all the way down to 5, where they'll do this hold and do those leak checks on their EMUs.
Yeah, I'm getting several beeps. Are you? Yeah, I'm getting the O2 positions IV. It's wanting us to take it to EVA, but that's what that is over there. We'll do the leak check at 5 and move it to EVA after.
Swanee, we are approaching crew lock 5 psi, and then at 5 psi, pump depress pump manual ISO valve to close and expect alert tone.
Copy, I'm showing 5.1. Coming close. If you agree, quickie.
Hey, I concur. Depress pump manual ISO valve close, expect alert tone. And then after that, both of you for the leak check, switch display to status until leak check question mark displayed, and switch display to yes, hold for 2 seconds, and follow displayed instructions.
EV1 copies and work. 2 copies in their work.
So the Quest airlock now at pressure of 5 psi, down from the nominal station pressure of 14.7. NASA astronauts Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson inside in their spacewalking suits, doing some leak checks now inside of the airlock. They'll be toggling the display statuses over to do these leak checks. Following successful leak checkouts, they'll then be able to continue on with the depressurization of Quest. Again, right now, Quest airlock holding at pressurization of 5 psi, while these two spacewalkers do these quick leak checks. And again, just as a reminder, throughout the activities today, you'll hear the astronauts referred to as EV1 or 2. Rick Mastracchio, EV1, the lead spacewalker for today. Steve Swanson, EV2, the backup for today, assisting Mastracchio throughout the task.
Yeah. Can work. EV1 in O2 position, EVA. EV2 also.
Copy that. The next step, step 10. Swanee, depress pump manual ISO valve to open and expect alert tone.
Copy, coming open. Valve is open.
And I'm going to move the emergency MTEB now to open. Emergency MTEB is open, and on DCM, monitor suit B gauge less than 5.5. If it's more than 5.5, stop depress, and we will check with Houston.
EV1 copies. 2 copies.
Next step is that when the crew lock is at 2 psi.
Copy.
Again, the Quest crew lock portion continuing to depressurize and count down. The leak checks completed at the 5 psi hold. Both Mastracchio and Swanson reporting good results. The teams down here in Houston getting good telemetry from the suits and concurring. So the valve now back open, the depressurization continuing. They'll have another hold at 2 psi. Well, they will attach a few waist tethers and get ready for the eventual full depressurization, which will occur shortly after. And then once that depressurization is complete and all the final checkouts are done, the 2 astronauts will switch their suits over to battery power, and we'll get an official start time to today's spacewalk. We'll continue to stand by while this depressurization continues inside of Quest. Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson getting ready to step outside for EVA 26 to replace this failed backup MDM on the station's S0 truss. Also do a quick get-ahead task of cutting a lanyard draped across a secondary power distribution assembly door. So right now the pressure inside of the airlock at about 2.5 psi. It's coming up soon on that next brief hold point at 2 psi, where they'll have a few more tasks attaching waist tethers as they get ready for final or full depressurization.
Reach up shore 2.0.
Okay, I concur. So 2.0, depress pump manual ISO valve closed.
It is closed.
On the UIA, switch depress pump power to OFF.
It is off.
Okay, attach waist tethers to Airlock E-ring for egress.
Let's start with you, Rich. That's it. Okay, yeah, let's see. Kalich, I got my waist tether to Steve's safety tether. It's all locked black on black. His reel is unlocked. My right waist tether is connected to the airlock D-ring extender. It is locked black on black also.
Okay, that's great. And then next step on DCM, when the crew lock DPD is 0, expect alert tone.
So the gauge in front of me, basically, right, Kalich?
Right.
Okay.
And when the EV hatch delta P shows less than half psi, you can open the EV hatch, open and stow.
Yeah, it's going to take a few minutes to get there.
So going through a short handover that'll last about 12 minutes or so between satellites until we reacquire video communication with the International Space Station. But for now, inside of the Quest airlock, Steve Swanson and Rick Mastracchio in the final stages of crew lock depressurization. Mastracchio EV1 and Swanson EV2 for this 2.5-hour spacewalk today. Once this depressurization is complete, they'll be able to open up the hatch. A few minutes after that, hopefully switch their suits over to battery power. We'll get our official start time for today's EVA. This again, US EVA 26, the 179th spacewalk in support of station construction and maintenance. This is Mastracchio's 9th spacewalk, currently sitting at 6 all-time on the cumulative spacewalking record list. This will be Swanson's 5th. Here inside the room, the Orbit 2 team being led by Flight Director Brian Smith. You can see him seated there in the blue tie. Immediately to his right is Capcom Ricky Arnold, NASA astronaut. And then next to him in the blue shirt is Ground IV Jeremy Hansen, the Canadian Space Agency, who will be responsible for conversing directly with Mastracchio and Swanson throughout their spacewalk, relaying next steps throughout their procedures as they move to replace this failed multiplexer demultiplexer, and also do a quick get-ahead task on snipping a lanyard currently draped across a secondary power distribution assembly door. That get-ahead task assigned to the spacewalk given its close proximity to the location of the failed MDM. Both work sites right outside on that S0 truss. You can see what the lanyard looks like here. They'll need to cut it off, so the station's special purpose dexterous manipulator, or Dexter robotic assistant, will be able to access the SPDA doors should it be called upon to do replacement of one of the remote power controllers located inside of the SPDAs. That, again, just a real quick get-ahead task assigned to these astronauts. The major task of replacing that failed backup MDM, which the failure occurred back on April 11th. It's one of two external MDMs responsible for controlling a number of cooling and other systems on board the station.
Start moving your way a little bit, Steve. I'll get out of your way. You're good, I think. That should be good right there for now. Okay. More minutes to go here.
So here in Mission Control, Houston, the team continuing to stand by while this final depressurization takes place. Stracchio and Swanson standing by in the crew lock to open up the hatch and switch their suits over to battery power. Teams here inside the room. I think we're about 2 minutes away from the opening up of that external hatch.
0.6.7 on the gauge right now.
Okay, that corresponds to the PCS.
Once the pressure inside is at only 0.5 psi, the crew, Stracchio and Swanson, will be given the go to open up the hatch and stow it. In about 5 minutes, typically after the depress is complete, they'll be go to switch over to battery power.
0.5.
Okay. Okay, I think it's close to 0.5 to reach.
Sure. So you can open EV hatch open and stow.
Start copy and work. Looks like it's daytime.
It's daytime and sunset in a few minutes.
Good to go.
Okay, I'm going to move the emergency MPF to closed.
Hatch is open. And the thermal cover is open also.
Okay, copy that. So when you're done with stowing the EV hatch,
It's stowed.
let me know.
It's done.
So the airlock pressure down beneath half a psi now. The hatch being opened and stowed by EV1 Rick Mastracchio. Next major event looking forward to will be the switch over to battery power.
Okay, copy 20 and check display switch functional.
EV1. EV2 checked.
Okay, next step on the UIA, switch power EV1 and 2 of them to OFF.
And so getting the call down, the crew has switched over to battery power, marking the start of today's EVA at 8:56 a.m. Central Time.
It worked. It worked. Connecting is not the problem. It's finding that pouch.
Yeah, after disconnecting the SCU, you can install the DCM cover and then stow SCU in the pouch.
can work.
Should be getting some video views of the spacewalking astronauts in just about 2 minutes or so. They have a few more items on their checklist to get off before they begin egress and move outside of the Quest airlock.
Airlock Houston on 1, Koichi, we have taken care of step 13 when you get there.
Copy that. Thanks, Ricky.
Okay, EV1's in the pouch. EV2's in the pouch.
Copy. Next step, Swanee, check the depress pump manual ISO valve closed.
It is closed.
Okay, for both of you, on DCM, temp control valve to max hot.
It's EV1 max hot. EV2 max hot.
Okay, switch water to on.
EV1 water on. EV2 water on.
Okay, check DCM blank, light off. OFS.
So EV1 blank light off. EV2 blank light off.
Okay, temp control valve between 3 and the max cold.
Okay. Take it to about 5 for now. EV1.
And Koichi, we just...
Hey, Houston, step...
yeah, Koichi, we just need the gauge.
Houston, step 11, is that required?
We just need the gauge.
Okay, could you give the gauge pressure readings?
EV1, let's see, I'll call it 4.3. EV2, 4.6.
Okay, 4.3 and 4.6, copy. And sun, I think sun has already set.
Yeah, it's pretty
so visors are not required. And Houston, step 3, could you take care of it? And then in step 14, we will go to the EVA specific timeline.
Okay, Koichi, thanks very much. We're ready to take it from here. Good morning, Rick and Swanee. Looks like a great day for you guys to take a walk in space. First thing we'll be looking for is to hear that all your tethers and safety tethers are in a good config.
Yeah, good morning, Jeremy. Yeah, we got our tethers all set up. Let's see, my waist tether is to Steve's safety tether. His waist tether is to Steve. Ring extender. Everything's locked, lock on back.
Okay, Rick, and we're looking for the LAS hook as well for you.
LAS hook. Load speed. Load aviation strap. Oh yeah, that's black on black also.
Okay, good words, Rick.
Mine are black on black also.
Okay, copy, Swanee. I hear yours is black on black as well. And while they're looking at that data, I want to read the warning to you about the sharp edge on the circular handrail. It's on the port side and slightly aft.
Port side and aft, copy. Looking for it.
Okay, Rick, your go to open the thermal hatch cover and egress the airlock.
Okay, the thermal cover is already open, and I'm on my way out.
And here we have an external view of the station. You can see Rick Mastracchio in the suit with the red stripes there, leaving the Quest airlock. The suit's on battery power. The EVA officially starting at 8:56 a.m. Central Time. Ground IV Jeremy Hansen from the Canadian Space Agency taking over communication between Mission Control and the two spacewalking astronauts. Mastracchio and Swanson now heading outside and will quickly translate over to their work site on the S0 truss to begin their work of replacing this failed MDM unit.
Thanks, I appreciate that. No problem.
They just completed a quick check, making sure all of their safety tethers are in place before heading out to the outer portion of the space station. You can see the airlock's thermal cover. It's the large white flap there already removed.
And Steve, your safety tether is closed and locked. Black on black, your reel is unlocked. Thank you very much. Yeah, let me just see, I'm on the forward D-ring, you're on the aft D-ring. Copy. Gonna slide out of your way here. Sorry, but even ever.
Immediately upon egressing, Mastracchio doing a quick check of all the tethers once outside. Now he's clearing the way for Swanson to make his way out of the Quest airlock next.
Okay, gentlemen, just for your SA, we haven't picked up WVS yet, but we do have good SA from an external camera.
Copy.
So now that they're outside of the airlock, the two astronauts have a couple of quick checkout tasks. Both will verify their safer unit, their simplified aid for EVA rescues, are in a good configuration with the handles down and the necessary valves open or closed. Once they do that verification, they'll do a quick tether checkout again, close the thermal hatch, and then begin translating over to the worksite.
Copy, Swanee, thanks.
Again, just to keep track of who's who, Rick Mastracchio in the suit with the red stripes, which you can see around the legs floating in view. And just out of view, EV2 Steve Swanson in the suit with no stripes. Swanson will also be carrying the orbital replacement unit bags, carrying the spare MDM over to the work site with him. Now that they're both outside doing the tether checkouts, we'll do the safer checkout and then begin translating over to the S0 truss.
Alrighty. Well, let me check over. Check the, I got your safer handle, that one's good. Check the other one, the other one's good. The workstation's all good. I see the green light. Copy. The handles, your left handle, it might be up. Check that one. A little lower. I don't think it's up. I think it's just maybe split a little bit up. Okay.
Doing their safer checkouts right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Okay, in your tabs, I see 1, 2, 3 tabs, and your green light is on. Copy. So these are all good.
Okay, gentlemen, we copied all that, and we're just looking for a HAP check as well.
Okay. Stand by. Okay, EV1's good, nominal. EV2, good, nominal.
Good words. Okay, when you're ready, we'll be closing the thermal cover next and then translating to the work site. And I'll read you one more caution just to remind you about those heat pipes inside the S0 truss.
Copy. Thank you very much. Thermal cover is closed. I'm heading up. A few minute head start, Steve. I will do that.
So with the thermal hatch closed and all their checkouts complete, they're now heading out to the S0 truss work site. Rick Mastracchio, EV1, will take the lead in the translation along the crew and equipment translation aid, also known as the SETA, the system of handrails that will help them get over to the work site. Steve Swanson, EV2, will be right behind him along the way, carrying with him the orbital replacement unit bag with the spare MDM in tow. Still standing by to get in-helmet views from the two spacewalking astronauts. Should be coming up shortly, hopefully. In the views, you'll see small number 20 in the bottom corner of Rick Mastracchio's camera, and the number 18 in the bottom corner of Steve Swanson's. Mastracchio has already passed out of view, translating along the CETA to get over to the worksite. Now you can see him coming up here. The station currently in an orbital nighttime. So the astronauts will be working by portable light.
Rick, as you approach the worksite, you're going to be looking for possible damage on the failed MDM and the cables on the backside.
Copy.
Here you can see Steve Swanson, EV2, grabbing onto that CETA, and with him that orbital replacement unit bag with the spare MDM in place. His partner, Rick Mastracchio, already over at the worksite. His first task to inspect the MDM for any possible damage, inspecting the unit itself and also the cables that are mated to the back of the MDM. When Swanson arrives, he'll be temporarily stowing the bag to the S0 truss just to the starboard side of the MDM.
Swanee, as you approach, you're still in the medium ORU bag and a place that's convenient for you. We found a place in the bay just starboard of the failed MDM.
Looks like a good place, thanks.
So while Swanson gets ready to stow that bag, Mastracchio continuing to inspect the MDM for any potential damage.
Locked onto both your WVS cameras.
I'm going to throw down a fair lead here, Jeremy, with an adjustable.
Copy, fair lead, Rick.
On the main CETA handrail here. Let's see, where is it? Trying to keep this out of Steve's way. That's pretty good right now. Hey, Jeremy, I took the rat that's on the scoop outside the bag, put it on a handrail to temstow the old MDM when we remove it. So it's on a handle just below the cedar rail.
Okay, copy, Swanee.
Again, the astronauts right now working in an orbital nighttime, so relying on those flashlights on their spacesuits. Just a reminder, as we get better views from their helmet cams, Steve Swanson EV2 has the number 18 in the lower right corner of his camera, and Rick Mastracchio EV1 has the number 20 in the lower right corner of his. At this point, Swanson has stowed the medium ORU bag just to the starboard of that failed MDM, the ORU containing the spare and a number of different tools necessary for the removal and replacement of the failed unit.
Okay, Houston, I'm looking at the back plate of the MDM. I don't see any obvious damage. Snap a few pics for you.
Copy, Rick.
Here's a view from Mastracchio's camera. He's inspecting the MDM and the cables in the back for any potential damage.
We understood that you redded the scoop to the structure, but is the MDM bag redded to structure as well?
That's going to a different spot. That's going where you suggested. So I have a adjustable down on that already. And now I'm getting another one, and then it'll take off my BRQ ret on it.
Okay, good words. Thanks, Swanee.
Here the view from another angle. That's NASA astronaut Steve Swanson, EV2. He's working to break out a couple of the tools, among them the scoop.
Checking. No, we're happy with that, Rick. Thanks very much. You can go ahead and start setting up the ret onto the failed MDM.
Got it.
And Rick, as you clear structure, we wanted you to check your safer handles again and do a glove check and a hap check, please.
Copy.
You'll hear the astronauts get a call to do periodic glove checks throughout the spacewalk as they do all of the work translating and working with their hands. One of the potential hazards are sharp edges, making any cuts or abrasions on the gloves. So the astronauts regularly checking to see if there's been any damage just throughout their spacewalk. But for now, Mastracchio finished checking out the MDM for any potential damage, not seeing anything obvious, and snapping a few photos for further engineering analysis down here on the ground. He's now going to begin setting up his Worksite for the removal of this MDM. He'll be using the pistol grip tool, basically the drill these astronauts use for driving all of the bolts for different station systems.
Safer check, all nominal.
Okay, good words, Rick. And when convenient for you, we'd like you to read the MDM label number down to us.
Okay, is that the number right on the front? It says MDM 16 Echo 0102, or do you want the label on the top?
No, that's the right one, Rick.
Got part numbers and stuff.
That is the failed MDM.
Okay. Good thing to check.
You can see on the front of the MDM the 3 bolts, the 2 secondary on either side, and the main in the middle. Mastracchio will be using the pistol grip tool to drive each of these bolts to remove the failed MDM, where it will be temporarily stowed and then replaced with the backup spare that Steve Swanson has attached now in his temporary stowage location in that ORU bag right next to where the failed one is currently residing.
And Rick, friendly reminder to protect your faceplate from that cedar rail in this position.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you want to do this, Steve? Want me red eye now? And later I'll get it to you? Yes. Okay. And when you start pulling out, I will hand you that scoop. Okay. Okay, the ret is in... Oh, not that ret, though. That's not a good ret. It's a different ret.
The red retractable equipment tether used to help stabilize spacewalkers whenever they're removing or reattaching equipment on the outboard portion of station.
Okay, we copy that, Rick. We had the other end of that ret now going back to handrail 3446, which is just aft of the MDM on the starboard side.
I'll just keep it on me, Houston.
Okay, we're happy with that. Copy. Okay, the next step for you, Rick, is to get your PGT out and let me know when you're ready for settings. And Swanee, we'd like to get a glove and hap check from you when convenient.
That's good right now. Left glove is good. Ready for settings on the PGT. Right glove is good. Hap check is good. All normal.
Okay, Rick, your settings are Bravo 1, counterclockwise 2. We copy your remarks, Swanee.
Mastracchio now setting up the PGT, the pistol grip tool, which you can see in his helmet cam here, that he'll be using to drive all of the bolts on this MDM activity today.
Bravo 1, counterclockwise 2 is set.
Good words, Rick. Okay, you're going to release the secondary bolts first. You can pick either one, port or starboard. We're expecting 7 to 14 turns.
Copy.
And Rick, a reminder, there's going to be a recurring theme today to describe the running torque as we remove bolts.
Roger. Okay, the torque is broken on the first bolt, almost nothing. Break it. Running torque is very smooth, practically 0.
Copy.
Trying to how many turns do you expect, Houston?
7 to 14 turns, and these bolts spring out when they're released.
Yeah. Trying to get an accurate turn count. Houston, with a quick question.
Go ahead, Swanee.
You mind if I open up the MDM bag? I have it so the inner straps are holding the MDM down. Or do you want me to wait till we for sure have this other one off?
Okay, we got a good view of it in your WVS checking. Okay, Swanee, we'll go for as requested.
Okay.
So the two spacewalking astronauts moving right along through their timeline. Rick Mastracchio already driving the two secondary bolts on the failed MDM, following which he'll release the center jacking bolt.
It's about 14 turns at this time. I think the bolt popped out a little while ago, but there's just not much play on the bolt when I push it in, you know? So I just wasn't 100% sure it was out. You see it in my WVS?
We do. We have a good view. And we're happy with that config, Rick.
Okay. I can't tell you the exact number of turns, I'll be honest with you, because I think it popped up a lot earlier than I thought. I expected it to pop out a lot more. So,
copy.
I'm going to go to the next bolt. I'm still set at Bravo 1 and counterclockwise 2 if you're ready.
Okay, we're ready, Rick. Those are good settings. So the first secondary bolt release. Mastracchio now working on the second one, following which he'll move over to the center jacking bolt.
Very little, almost 0.
Once that's released, he'll get the scoop from Steve Swanson, install it on the MDM to eventually slide it out along its guide rails and remove it. Once they get this MDM off of the cold plate where it's currently attached, they'll inspect the cotherm to see if they need to scrape anything off or try and clear away any residual cotherm on the cold plate.
About 14 turns there, Houston, and the actual torque is only reading like 2.8. I think that was pretty similar to what the other one was. So the braking of the bolts, the torque setting was very low.
Okay. Good news, Rick. That's what we like to hear. Next, we're going for the center jacking bolt. It's going to be the same settings, Bravo 1, counterclockwise 2, and we're expecting 25 to 32 turns.
Okay, Bravo 1, counterclockwise 2, set. I re-zeroed everything out. I am tethered to the MDM. How are you doing over there, Stevie? Great, ready to go with it? Yep.
Okay, Swanee, and as he's releasing that bolt, this would be a good time to grab the round scoop.
Yep. Okay, braking of torque was almost nothing, 2.8 foot-pounds basically. How many turns on this one, Jeremy?
25 to 32 turns expected.
Okay, a little bit of torque.
And how many turns in was that torque?
5 or 6 turns.
Copy.
7 turns, 8 turns. Torque is higher, about 5.8, 6 on the torque, 10, 11 turns, about 6 on the torque, 12 turns, 13 turns. Running torque's lightening up a little at 15 turns, less than 6, maybe 2 or 3. 20 turns. Except for checking out, I think it might even be loose now. Go on, no. It's coming close. Definitely loose. MDM's definitely loose. Going at 23 turns. Here's 23 turns, Houston. You were at 45 to 32. 25? Okay. Sorry. Okay, there's 23 on the inside, going in. Copy. Couple more turns just for good luck. It's still jacking. There it goes. I think that's free. It looks like it. And I can see a little coaster that looks great. No issue with a little bit of coaster I see right here. Hey, Houston, so about 25 turns, you copied all about the torque, the running torque, right?
We sure did. That info is real useful for the reinstall. And we see installing the scoop. Obviously, you want to keep that within the plane of the box to avoid the seat to handrail. And then you're going to remove the failed, and let's have a good inspection of the backside and the cotherm.
Mastracchio finishing on the center bolt. After doing both secondary bolts, the MDM now loose. He's installing the scoop, the device that they'll use to slide the MDM out of its position.
Here, give me back that scoop. Give me back that scoop. Give me back that scoop. All right, here's a couple more turns. MDM is nice and loose, that's for sure.
Copy, Rick.
Again, the cotherm I can see, it looks great.
Giving the center bolt a few more turns to finish loosening it up. Then Mastracchio will remove the failed device with the scoop, and they'll temporary stow.
All right, I'll hold that down. I went the full 32 turns, Houston. The torque at the end there was basically 0. This guy wants to come out. Well, you got your red, I think, full.
Good words, Rick.
His initial cotherm looks great. His initial cotherm looks great.
That's great news, Swanee.
Just take him out.
Swanson reporting the cotherm, or that adhesive lining between the MDM and the cold plate looking good. Hopefully no residual that they'll have to scrape off the cold plate. You can see them removing the failed MDM now.
Oh yeah, cotherm is perfect. Little waves in it a little bit, but no pieces, all smooth. No issues on the cotherm. There is a little bit of brake coat or something from the jacking screw. That's from the jacking screw. Yeah. And if you can see that in the WVS.
Yeah, we're real happy with what we see, guys. That's great news. Thank you.
Got it? I got it. Let me take that red off. Yeah, take that one, the middle. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Okay, it's all yours, man. I got it. Your thumb's still down here. You take a look at what's going on over there, and I'll try to get the MDM ready for you. Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
Okay, Rick, during this
time. I'm going to take a look inside here.
Yeah, exactly. You're reading our mind.
I read the procedures. Which is like reading the mind. Oh, it's beautiful.
So the spacewalking astronauts moving along very quickly, not encountering any issues so far in the spacewalk. Failed MDM's been removed and is being temporarily stowed.
The plate is pretty much perfectly clean, I would say. Showroom new. All the pins, or the connectors, I should say, in the back. Be a few minutes to look at those. They all look good. Initial guess here, but let me get some light on them and give them a good inspection.
Okay, good words, Rick. And we just lost WVS from both of you.
Okay. Yeah, all the connectors in the back, the connector plates there all look perfectly clean. No debris. Well, looks beautiful, Houston.
Excellent news. Okay. We're ready for the install when Swanee's ready to transfer the spare for you.
Yeah, copy. Can I get out of here? Are you going to check the connectors now, Rich? If you get a chance. No hurry, no hurry. The connectors? Sorry, you know what I mean, the binary connectors on the back there, the pins. Oh, yeah. What do you want me to do with them? Just check them, right? Yeah, just check, make sure no problem. Looking at them. They all look perfectly clean. Guys made a good MDM. Looks good. Okay, let me just get on this other side of here.
We just had some WVS blockage. We picked it back up again, and we got a quick last-second look at the back side of the box before you put it in.
Okay. You happy with that? Got it, yeah? All right. Are you happy with everything, Houston?
We're happy, and just a reminder to be careful when you insert the new MDM to protect the cotherm.
Happy. I'll do a quick look at the cotherm. Pretty good. Little waves in it, but nothing dramatic. So I'm going to come at it.
Strachio now installing the spare MDM into its place.
Yeah, you're missing this one right here. It's coming down. Yep. There you go, perfect. You're ready. Want to give me that, I got group, or, yeah, why don't you back there first? Yeah, good idea. I was thinking, that's why we don't like these reds not to block, though, you know? Yeah. Because it's just going to come pulling out now. Okay. All right, Houston, I am readied to the MDM.
Okay, we see that in your WVS.
It's on the scoop right now? I got to take the scoop right off, right? Yeah, you can, but I was going to do just a few moves. Yeah, just give me that. Yeah, it's fine. Give me the whole scoop.
Okay, and we copy you're transferring the scoop over to Swanee, and you'll stow it on the outside of the medium ORU bag, Swanee.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, Rick, next we're going to install the bolt, but I want to give you a heads up. You got about a little less than 2 minutes to sunrise.
Okay. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
So the new MDM in its place. The scoop off and begins to stowed back inside the bag. Strachio now preparing to drive the center bolt first, followed by the two secondary bolts. And that'll finish the install of this new MDM. The Spacewalk humming along flawlessly, 34 minutes since battery power and EVA start. Failed MDM already removed and temporarily stowed. New MDM in place, getting ready for Rick Mastracchio to start driving the bolts and secure it in place.
Over there, Steve. Just putting that guy in the bag? Yeah, I'm putting the scoop on the back. Okay. And then I'll be working on putting the guy in the bag. Can I have you hold this MDM for just when you get done with the scoop before you do the next half? No problem. Yeah, take your time. Because the rat's just going to pull it out, so... I understand, yeah. You know what? Actually, if I hold the scoop, it's even better. I just hold it down with this like this. Right, like that. Yeah. Let me get my feet figured. Like my PGT out. It was going to come running at me. Okay, Houston. I'm ready for PGT settings for the, let's see, the center jack screw, I believe.
That's correct, Rick. Your settings are going to be Bravo 1, clockwise 2. And a reminder, we're looking for only 23 turns, and then we need to reassess.
Yep. Bravo 1. Careful checking everything here. Bravo 1, clockwise 2 is set. And I'm going to do 23 turns.
Okay, Rick, and a reminder to clear your PGT so we get an accurate turn count, and any running torque info like last time is beneficial.
Here we go. Okay, I'm turning. It looks like it's going in, so torque is basically zero. I'm looking at it. Torque is zero. I don't know if I'm engaging. Yeah, I don't think you have it. No, I think you have it. Here comes that one, Rick. 8 turns, zero torque, basically. 0 torque.
Strachio driving the center bolt.
14 turns, 0 torque.
Sunrise just now bathing the astronauts in light as they install this new MDM.
Starting to feel little. 1.8 foot-pounds at 19, 2 foot-pounds, 0.7, 3 foot-pounds. 23 turns, stopping. 23 turns, max torque 3.2.
Okay, copy. 3.2 on the torque, Rick. We'll get you new settings.
Okay, place your bet. Alpha 4. Oh, I think you stole mine. I'll go Alpha 5. Let's do that.
Bad news, gentlemen. It's Alpha 3.
Oh, that was my second guess.
All right, Rick. So Alpha 3, clockwise 2. And we're expecting a minimum of 2.5 turns, but drive to torque.
Copy in work. Let me get this guy set up. Alpha 3, clockwise 2. Okay, checking again. Alpha 3, clockwise 2.
Good words, Rick.
So a quick reset of the settings. While he finishes driving that central bolt, Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson, 37, almost 38 minutes into their spacewalk, going without any issues. A quick handover between communication satellites now. We should reacquire video communication any second.
We have you loud and clear. We're just handing over, gentlemen. Sorry for not giving you a heads up.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's all right. Hey, just to remind me one more time, I got the PGT all set up, Alpha 3, clockwise 2, and you want me to go to torque or 2 turns?
Okay, Rick, we're going to torque and a minimum of 2.5 turns.
Okay, well, I can't control that. I can only control the torque, so here we go. Minimum of 2.5. Let's go to torque. Here we go. Here's 2.5 turns. Continuing. Torque's about 2.9. 5 turns. All right, we torqued out. 5 point. I call it 5.88, maybe that says. And I got a torque at green light.
Good words, Rick.
Sounds like a good thing. Yeah. I like it.
And Rick, can you read the torque for us?
Yeah, 5.88, I believe.
Sorry, we got confused between the torque and the turns then.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my fault. 5.88 is the turns. Torque is 4.6 actual with a green light.
Copy. 4.6 on the green light. Thank you.
Take your time, Steve. Take your time. Take care.
Mastracchio has the center bolt of the new MDM in place. Moving on to the secondary bolts.
Drive the secondary bolts now. Your preference on the order. And the initial setting is going back to Bravo 1, clockwise 2.
Okay, copy. Going to Bravo 1, clockwise 2. Bye.
And this time we're going to do only 5 turns, and then we'll reassess the torque. 5 turns, then reassess.
Copy. Okay. Bravo 1, clockwise 2. So you want me to do 5 turns on each bolt? We'll talk them one at a time.
We're going to do them one at a time.
Copy. Turning. 3, 0 torque. 4 turns. 5 turns, 0 torque.
Okay, copy, 0 torque. We'll get you new settings.
Well, that's an easy one. Is it Alpha 1 or Alpha 2? Oh, 1.
Okay, you're right. It's Alpha 1, clockwise 2.
Copy. Got to go to Alpha again. But I'll turn into feet.
The astronauts getting better with their torque guesses. This first secondary bolt just about driven in. Astronauts a little over 41 minutes now into this spacewalk. Encountering no issues so far, getting that failed MDM off very quickly.
Copy, no problem.
The main bolt on the new MDM already driven. The first secondary bolt on the way in.
Don't forget to look down, Steve. We're all good for it. 4 turns, 0 torque. 5, 6 turns, 0 torque. Starting to pick up some torque. And we got a torque green light on the torque. 6.61 turns. Torque was 2.3 actual.
Okay, 6.61 turns, 2.3 torque. We're happy with that. We're ready to reset to Bravo 1 clockwise 2 to do the same thing on the other secondary bolt.
I understand. It work. Let's see. Bravo 1 clockwise 2 is set. Going to the other bolt.
Okay, good words, Rick. And Swanee, when you're ready, you have a go to start the SPDA doors.
Okay. I got the old MDM back in the bag. Here we go. The scoop is just on the outside now. I've realized with everything free floating, I need 3 hands to actually attach to the scoop. I need something stable. Yeah. Hey, Steve, just leave it like it is in a safe config, and while you're doing the doors, I'll finish cleaning it up. Okay, it's in a safe config right now. Okay. And Houston, I got 5 turns, 0 torque.
Okay, copy. We'll double check. We'll get you a go in a moment, but expecting you have a go for Alpha 1 clockwise 2, Rick.
Okay. Alpha 1 clockwise 2. Here we go.
Mr. Accio finishing up this secondary bolt. Meanwhile, Steve Swanson giving the go-ahead to translate over to the SPDA door.
You're working over there, ain't you? Yeah, we're working 2 turns, no torque. 3 turns, 0 torque. 4 turns, 0 torque. 5 turns, picking up torque. Green light on the torque. 5.67 turns, torque of 2.3, green light.
Okay, copy. 2.3 torque, good, green light.
Steve, you got a new MDM.
Excellent work, gentlemen. Okay, Rick, obviously you're into site cleanup. Swanee, when able, over to the SPDA doors. And when you're clear of the MDM, Rick, we're going to give them a go to power it up and give it a test.
Okay, let me just get clear for Swanee. Yeah, I'm just going to swing up. How's that? Back in the rear, fine. My safety car is going over yours, is what you know. No problem. And I'm clear. Okay.
Steve Swanson translating over to those SPDA doors, where he's going to do a quick lanyard cut task.
Okay, Houston, I don't know what you mean by clear of the MDM. I'm not touching it, so I'll just move over outboard a little bit and get a little more space between us.
Copy that, Rick.
I'm going to pick up my adjustable, Jeremy.
Okay, copy. You're picking up your adjustable.
Mr. Accio just completed the installation of the new MDM, driving all the bolts without any issues, getting it installed quickly and cleanly.
You can tackle cleanup. We'll also be looking for some closeout photos and a bit of a pre or post-install inspection at your convenience.
Okay. I'm going to have to stick my head in the structure. Is that okay while you guys power up?
We'll hold the power up for you to do that inspection, so it might be best to do that first.
Okay, if it works, stand by.
So Mr. Accio now will do a quick inspection of the newly installed MDM, take a few photos for engineering reviews down here on the ground. Again, everything going very quickly, very cleanly today. with the removal of the failed MDM and the installation of the new one in its place. Mastracchio now doing a quick inspection and taking a few photos. And meanwhile, Steve Swanson's translating over to the secondary power distribution assembly door, or the SBDA, where he's going to do the day's only get-ahead task, where he will be cutting a lanyard that's currently on one of the stowage brackets of the SBDA door.
In view Rick's way.
Good word, Swanee.
Here you can see Mastracchio taking a few photos using the EVA camera. Meanwhile, Swanson heading up for that lanyard cut. This get-ahead task again to cut a lanyard currently draped across the SPDA door. Once that's cut, it'll enable the station's Dexter robot, the special purpose Dexter's manipulator, to open the door for a potential future removal and replacement task.
Seems to be well seated. Snap a couple of pictures for you.
Copy, Rick.
Feel solid. So looks like it's a good config.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
No problem.
Okay, Swanee, as you approach the work site, I want to remind you about the lanyard. After you cut it, you want to be careful to avoid the cut end for sharp edges as you put it in your trash bag.
Copy, thanks.
So with Mastracchio's inspection done, the mission controllers here, Mission Control Houston, getting ready to power up the new MDM and perform its initial checkouts.
Clear of the MDM. The next day over.
Okay, we copy that, Rick. And if you BRT to the seat of handrail, we're not sure. We need you to inspect that for any nicks.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do BRT to the seat of handrail. I'll take a look at it. It was scratched what I got here. Not paying for it. Reed, I am tethered to the tip pin. I am ready to have my scissors out. I'm ready to cut the loop.
Okay, you have a go to cut the loop, Swanee.
Swanson cutting the lanyard now off the SPDA door. He'll be stowing it in his portable trash bag attached to his suit. Once he gets the lanyard cut, he'll quickly open the door about a foot or so, giving Mission Control Houston a readout of how much force is necessary.
Okay, we see it, Swanee. We've got good WVS. You're going to stow that in your trash bag, and then we'll assess that door.
Sounds good. Jeremy, where in the world are we?
Okay, great question. Just coming up on South America.
Okay. The old Argentina-Chile pass, or great deal.
Mr. Archeo, taking a moment to take in the Earth is the station just about to pass over South America.
It says, looks like we're coming over Ecuador, Peru, that area.
That's right. He was a geography major.
Meanwhile, Steve Swanson successfully cut the lanyard, sewing it in his trash bag. Do a quick checkout on the SPDA door. And once he's finished up with that door checkout, that will wrap up both tasks for the day's list. Currently only 53 minutes into the EVA.
Alright, it's finally in there. It was fighting me the whole way to get in that trash bag. He did not want to go.
Copy, Swanee.
Alright. And it looks like something's still holding it up. I checked the launch locks. They look out. And it still does not want to move.
Okay, we copy, Swanee. We'd like you to do some more troubleshooting. Give us a better description of where you think it might be hanging up.
That's a good question. I got about I'd say 3/8 of an inch movement. And then it hits something really solid and does not want to go any farther. Let me look back over this way, if I can get a good idea of what's causing it.
And Swanee, what's your assessment about the detents, if they could be causing the hang-up?
Well, it could, but if I look and notice, and it's free to move sideways, but there are those ridges in there, and that looks kind of like what it is. Yeah, I see how the ridges go up on the plate that's in the plungers, that the plunger's using to hold down, and that's how much play I have. I get to that point where the top of the ridge, and that's where it wants to stop. Now,
Okay.
I could possibly use more force to get over the plungers, but that's going to be quite a bit of force, I think.
Okay, we copy those remarks. That's a good description. We have some good video of it. Stand by for more words.
I see also the straight marks on that ridge also from the plunger. Am I giving you a good enough view there?
Sorry, Swanee, say your last again.
Yeah, there are straight marks on the plate which are plunger contacts. I can see the outside where it has been opened. You can see it scraped the metal. The plunger scraped the metal. I'm trying to give you a WVS right now. Do you have WVS?
We do. We have good WVS.
I don't know if you see where I'm pointing.
We can see where you're pointing.
Okay. I think it is the plungers causing the issue. Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah, we see it, Swanee.
I just pulled a little bit harder. I got a really good grip on it and decided to give it a good yank, and it worked. So, for Spin'em, though, that's a pretty good tug.
Okay, we copy.
So I don't know how you guys, I don't know how you want me to quantify that, but just give it it was almost 40, 50 pounds. And even getting it back over takes a good...
Okay.
So Steve Swanson using a little bit of brute force to get this door open. Meanwhile, controllers here in Houston confirming that the new MDM is powered up, has been running through its diagnostics, and they're getting ready to do the software update.
Another run and start.
Okay, Swanee, we got what we need on this door. We're ready to try the other one.
I got it closed. Again, it was a significant force.
Copy that, Swanee.
How you doing, Rick? Doing good, man. Good. I got the bag all situated. Wonderful. Kind of. But you're not going far with it.
And Rick, we could do an inventory on that medium ORU bag when you're ready.
Okay, stand by.
So Swanson successfully getting the lanyard off and opening up the port door. Now translating over to the starboard SPDA door. We'll be cutting another lanyard from the door handle, repeating the same steps, stowing it, and then checking out the door and getting it open. All this being done in preparation.
Your R&R was successful. We have a good MDM. It's in diagnostic mode as expected.
Oh, wonderful. Fantastic.
Again, there you have ground IV Jeremy Hansen confirming the MDM powered up in diagnostics, reporting a good MDM.
Put the handrail out here.
So the main task on today's spacewalk being done successfully.
Jeremy, I am tethered to the pit pin.
Copy, Swanee.
Swanson now on the starboard SPDA door, cutting the lanyard, which will be stored alongside the other in his trash bag. Meanwhile, Rick Mastracchio, who successfully completed the removal of the failed MDM and replaced it with the backup, which is now powered up and in diagnostic modes, getting a good read. It's a good MDM. Is now down doing some worksite cleanup.
Bag of MDMs.
Okay.
Looks to me like I got inside the MDM bag, I got one ret, one scoop, and one MDM slightly used.
Copy, slightly used.
Outside the bag, slightly used. It's a good price. Outside the bag, I got the bag and two adjustables, one other scoop, and one other ret. Kind of goes inside the bag.
Okay. That's a good inventory on the bag, Rick. Thanks.
No problem.
Just over an hour now into EVA 26. Again, reports the new MDM installed, running good. The old MDM slightly used, safely back inside of the ORU bag, will be translated back along with the astronauts inside for further reviews and possible repair inside of the station. And while Steve Swanson wrapping up the last task on the list today, he's cutting the next lanyard off of the SPDA door, moving over to the starboard one. Once it's off and stowed, he'll be opening up the door like he just did with the port to ensure no issues with getting it open. It could eventually be manipulated by the station's Dexter robot to replace the RCPMs, RPCMs, the remote power controller modules inside of these SPDA doors. Once this SPDA door task wraps up, the crew will be ready to finish their cleanup and head back inside. Again, moving pretty far ahead of the timeline, not running into any issues with the removal of that MDM or the installation back in. So they'll do a final tool inventory, make sure they're not leaving anything behind before moving back towards the Quest airlock, where they'll begin the repressurization and getting getting out of their suits, and that repress will mark the end of the EVA today. But again, everything going without any issues. The crew working through one final task before doing some final checkouts and then heading back inside.
My arms are too short for a selfie. I'll be there in a second. Taking pip pins going in. All right, got a cut already, huh? Yeah, excellent. How was it cutting with that system? It's actually not bad. Yeah. Better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. Jimmy, I assume we're going to do another test of this guy?
Affirmative, Swanee.
The second lanyard removed. Swanson moving in now to open up the door.
Okay, we copy that, and we see it in your WVS.
I mean, it still got some force to it. Oh, no, maybe, you know what, I bet it wasn't all the way done. I slammed it back and put it all the way back in again. Let me do this again. Yeah. It's a little bit less still difficult, though, in the sense of, I'd say, like, 30 pounds or something like that force. But it is easier than the other one.
Okay, we copy that. Good description, Swanee.
I believe I'm complete up here.
Swanee, Robo says that's the one SPDM loosened for you. That's why that one's easier.
Very sure. Well, we just returned the favor. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
We're making a tool that can do the pip pins.
All right, nice work, gentlemen. We'll clean up our final steps here, and a glove and HAP inspection when it's convenient for you, and we'll be ready to start heading back.
Yeah, copy.
So 1 hour, 5 minutes into today's EVA, Steve Swanson finishing up his task with the SPDA doors, removing 2 lanyards, checking on the force required to open each one.
Yeah, take your time. Actually, while you're there, stand by. Yeah. Oh, you look good. Oh, you. That gold visor. Paid good money for that. All right, inspecting my gloves.
Hey, Rick, just do us a favor and have a look around. Something caught our eye. We're not sure if something was tumbling out of the field of view of one of the cameras there, the external cameras.
Behind him or which way?
Looked like something was tumbling over your right shoulder, Rick.
You know how to get somebody's attention. Is it moving slowly, fast?
Yeah, we're just trying to gather that information.
I'm not seeing a thing, though. Well, I got everything I think I came out with. I think I do too.
Doing a quick look around, mission controllers thinking they might have saw something tumble away.
Good news. We just saw something in the edge of the camera view, and we don't have a very conclusive point of view of it. We just wanted you to have a look around to help us out in case we did see something.
Okay, we'll look, and we'll do a tool inventory here in a moment. Very good. Very good, very good. All right, so EV1 glove and half check complete. It looks good. Everything's nominal, Jeremy.
Okay, good words, Rick. Copy, nominal glove and half check.
You want to do some mini workstation tool inventories? Yeah, let me just do my gloves real quick. Sorry, yeah, go ahead. Gloves, EV2 are good. Half check is good.
Okay, Swanee, copy. Rick, give us about 30 seconds here. They're still talking on the ground, and we'll make sure they're ready, and we'll go ahead with your tool config.
Take your time.
So the failed MDM already stowed inside of the ORU bag, ready to come back inside.
On the right side, I got my BRT with the RET with 2 wire ties. On the mini workstation itself, let's see, I've got 2 adjustables. 1, 2, 3 rets. 1 with a pit pin. I got the camera. I got a trash. On the PGT on the left side, that's a PGT with a ret. Got my waist tether and my safety tether. Did I miss anything?
Okay, that looks good to me, Rick. I'll double check.
Thank you.
Okay, Rick, ground concurs. That's a good inventory. Swanee, we're ready for you at your convenience.
Copy, I am ready also. On my mini workstation, I have, let's see, I'll start from left to right. I got a ret, just free, effective, not on anything. I have another ret that's attached to the scissors. In my trash bag, I have the 2 pit pins. Of course, I have a trash bag. I have 2 wire ties. I have a ret with a pit pin, and I've picked up my adjustable, so I have that. Plus, I have another ret that goes to the camera. I have the camera plus its integral ret, which goes to my swing arm.
Okay, copy, Swanee. We're just checking.
No problem. Steve, I'm going to go up high and you're going to come down low again. Okay, sounds good. When you're ready. Yeah, I understand. Very nice. And we are clear. So the bag is all set, Steve. Just got the 2 adjustables. Check how you're doing here for a second. Yeah. Want to clean that.
The astronauts wrapping up their final
So I gotta clean that up.
inventory checks. Next step will be to translate back to the Quest airlock for their ingress, and then eventually getting out of these spacesuits and concluding today's EVA. And an elapsed time of 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 50 seconds right now, accomplishing both their tasks on the list without any issues, moving through very quickly.
That's better. We go up here. Compose. Beauty. Let's take a make sure. How's their scissors? Scissors are good. I put them like that. I got another one. Yeah. Random. That's a good technique. It's a good technique. That is interesting. Hey, our safety tethers look well clear of each other. Okay, good. So what else? I don't know. I'm gonna go. I guess put this on my BRT. Everybody agrees with that.
Okay, gentlemen, we confirm that you're both in a good config for inventories, and we're ready for you to head back to the airlock.
I'm picking up the bag then.
And one last reminder, Rick, to have a look at those BRT locations on the cedar rail for us.
You bet. I don't want to lose my security deposit.
So with that, the crew being given the go to head back towards the Quest airlock.
The bag.
Getting a good count on everything in their inventories. The last few minutes, teams here in Mission Control Houston reviewing some video. They thought they might have seen something float away, so they might need to do an inventory once they get back inside as well. But the astronauts completing all their tasks as expected. Heading back now towards the Quest airlock and wrapping up this EVA. Still only 1 hour and 16 minutes since EVA start.
Cedar rail looks undamaged from my BRT in Houston.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
Scratched up pretty good from all these tethers and stuff, huh? and land again. Must be somewhere Europe-ish or Africa? I think it's supposed to be Europe. Where's the geography major? I'm not sure if he was, but I'll have to say that. Oh, boy. Should be able to recognize that. It's a little too cloudy to see the exact shape. We get a world map installed on this thing. There you go. All right, paddles are out. All right, take your time, take your time. That's good. That's good.
So again, Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson translating now back to the Quest airlock, complete with their task for the day, the spare MDM installed and powered up and giving good readings to the teams here in Mission Control Houston. Swanson also completing the cut on 2 lanyards on the SPDA doors, freeing them up for potential install work by the station's Dexter robot. The astronauts just completed their final tool inventories, getting a thumbs up from the team down here on the ground, and are now heading back to that Quest airlock.
I'll give you a few minutes head start. Yeah. Our tether's clear. Yeah, if you could be watching right now. Oh, yours looks great. Okay, good.
They're bringing the failed MDM in an ORU bag along with them.
Yeah, I got a good visual. Great, Rick. That's perfect.
Here you can see Steve Swanson with the camera 18 moving along, and the Quest airlock coming into view. And Swanson now back at the mouth of the Quest airlock, removing the thermal cover.
Thermal cover is coming open.
Okay, we see it, Swanee. Thanks.
Swanson will head inside first. Rick Mastracchio making his way over now.
Bags back on the large, small in the airlock. Clean up my VRT.
Copy, Swanee.
So Rick Mastracchio now arriving at the Quest airlock. Steve Swanson already made his way inside. 1 hour, 22 minutes into today's EVA. Both tasks that were on the list completed successfully. Swanson rather at the hatch, still waiting to make his way in as well. The thermal hatch has been pulled back.
I want to hold there for a sec, Rick.
Yeah, I got to get some organized here a little bit. So give me a minute.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
That's freaking extra.
All right, so let's see how you're doing there. You look all cleaned up. BRT is tucked away.
Yep, BRT tucked away. Like everything, I already got rid of the bag.
Tethers are clear of each other.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go my waist tether to the airlock V-ring.
Okay, you're still on the...
Yep, I'm gonna do that right now, though.
Okay. Houston, I assume we're go for ingress?
You are go.
I am on the D-ray extender with my waist tether. Gate closed, black on black, locked.
Copy.
Good word, Swanee.
Going on in.
Be in position.
Rick, I am in and ready for you.
Copy, thank you. Alrighty, so let's see. I'll leave my safety tether on.
That's a good idea.
I'll disconnect your safety tether. Connect it to my waist tether. Okay. Your safety tether is attached to my waist tether. Both are locked black on black.
Wonderful.
I'm
Good words,
disconnecting
Rick.
my safety tether. Disconnecting my safety tether, and it's on board my mini workstation. Okay, Houston. I'm ready to ingress if you're happy.
We're happy, Rick. Good words.
Okay, here we go.
Mastracchio now lowering himself back inside of the Quest airlock.
Copy on the aft side.
Yep. You're doing great. Just head that way. I'll get your feet in here a little closer.
Yep.
I got your foot.
Girl. Stand by.
Right, get those thermal cover.
Thermal cover.
Yeah, do a little rotate pirouette.
Okay, we're handing over in 15 seconds. We'll be back in 35.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And your next step will be connecting to the SCUs.
Okay, we'll put that in work. Thanks.
Okay, gentlemen, we're back with you. I've got a note to read to you just reminding you that the station water is warmer than your sublimator water, so you may want to adjust your cooling to 8 to max cool to minimize your time to cool.
Copy. Complete for 2. That good, right there? Is that good? Your feet okay? Yeah, stand by. Let me just get this guy. Okay. I'm just trying to stabilize him, that's all. Yeah, it doesn't like stay closed very well. No, it doesn't. You get that? There's a little Velcro, little tab. Yeah. Okay, great. Try to double check it though.
So at this point, both crew members back inside of the Quest airlock, beginning their initial steps to working towards the repressurization of Quest, at which point will mark the end of today's spacewalk, currently 1 hour 28 minutes in duration.
How about that, help? Yeah. Good. Okay. I'm in. Thermal cover's closed. All right. We're going for DCUs, I think. Or FCUs on the DCUs. FCUs? FCUs. Excellent work.
So again, right now, Rick Mistracchio and Steve Swanson back inside of the Quest airlock, doing a few checkouts.
Connected to the DCM and locked, then you'll be turning the water off. And a reminder, we can't close the hatch for 2 minutes until after the water switches are off. We'll start a clock once you acknowledge.
Okay, EV1, SCU is connected to DCM. EV2, SCU is connected. So I'm ready for water switch. So on your count, Rick. EV1, water off. EV2, water off.
Okay, and the H2O is off. Message is expected.
Yep, we got it.
Now the crew will wait about 2 minutes with their EMU water off until they can close the hatch. They'll first verify that it's clear of any potential hardware, and then close up the hatch.
Thanks everybody for putting together a good EVA. Luckily, we didn't have to use all your other special talents you came out with or other special techniques. Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate your kind words, and it was a pleasure to watch you. Thanks to both of you. It was a pleasure watching you execute that EVA. Nice and clean. Great job.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Good job. Yeah.
So again, the two astronauts waiting about another minute or so, having turned their EMU water switches off. After that, they'll be able to close the hatch to the Quest airlock. Following that, Expedition 39 Commander Koichi Wakata will get back in the mix, and they'll get ready to repressurize the airlock. And once that repress begins, that'll mark an official end to today's spacewalk. Currently 1 hour and 32 minutes on the dot into the elapsed time.
Rick, after the 2 minutes, of course, it's going to be hatch closing.
Yeah, I got the paddle pushed and
Okay, great. That's
ready when they are.
Am I out of your way well enough?
Yeah, you're perfect.
Okay, good.
Yeah, just stay right there.
Okay, Rick, we show 2-minute clock is expired. Verify the hatch is clear of all hardware, and then you can start closing the hatch for the decal. Or the
Copy, the hatch is clear of hardware. Gonna get dark in here.
Yep.
Hatch is down. Right there. Hatch is closed and locked and latched.
Okay, good words, Rick. We're going to transfer you over into the good hands of Koichi to finish the repress. Thanks again.
Thank you, Houston. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Great work.
Jeremy, great job. I'll pick it up at step 4 of the pre-repress portion now.
We're ready, Koichi.
Guys, welcome back. Swanee on the UIA. Check oxygen EMU 1, 2 valve, 2 of them open.
2 of them are open.
Okay. Next, to switch power ED1 and 2, 2 of them to on.
On.
Check the power ED1 to EMU LEDs, 2 of them on.
LEDs with 18.5 volts both.
That's good reading. Next, the DCM. Switch power to SCU and expect warning tone.
Copy. And 1 SCU. 2 FCU.
Okay, that's good. And we're going to the crew lock repress portion. On DCM, for both of you, O2 actuator to press.
It works, standby.
It worked, yes.
Standing by for repress.
B1 is in press.
CB2 is in press.
We have hardline com available, so let's switch com mode to hardline for both EV1 and 2.
And we're getting confirmation that the repress has begun, bringing an end to today's spacewalk. That repress coming at 10:32 a.m. Central Time, giving the EVA a total elapsed time of 1 hour and 36 minutes. Again, confirmation the repress of the Quest airlock, in which both Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson are now inside, has begun. The EVA officially over again. That time 10:32 a.m. Central Time. Total mission or total elapsed time for EVA 26 of 1 hour 36 minutes. The crew will now repressurize the Quest airlock. Again, stopping at a few built-in holds at 4 psi and then at 5 psi. While they wait a few minutes for everything to equalize, eventually they'll get it back up to the ambient pressure of the International Space Station, at which point Expedition 39 Commander Koichi Wakana will open up the hatch between the crew lock and the hatch area, and then they'll bring Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson back inside and begin to doff their spacesuits. And again, the EVA, though, officially over at 10:32 a.m. Central Time, a 1 hour 36 minute spacewalk. The two astronauts successfully installing a new multiplexer, demultiplexer onto the outside portion of the station to replace a box that failed back on April 11th. The two not running into any issues with the MDM install. The uninstall going flawlessly, the reinstall going just as well. Mission controllers here in Houston have confirmed the box has been powered up. The diagnostics went well, the software load going good, and all signals pointing to a good MDM back online. Swanson also completing the backup task of cutting lanyards on two secondary power distribution assembly doors, getting that done without issue. The doors requiring a little bit of force, but able to open up each one. Clearing the way for some future potential work by the station's robotic assistant, the special purpose dexterous manipulator, also known as Dexter, down here on the ground, to potentially replace some of the items inside of that SPDA, namely the remote power controller modules located inside, which act as power relay systems to a number of station devices. And again, right now, the Quest airlock repressurizing. Mastracchio and Swanson inside, standing by. So the repress of the Quest airlock continuing. They'll have a built-in stop once it reaches 4 psi, where they'll get an expected alert tone, and then have a few more tasks once it reaches 5 psi, eventually climbing its way back up to ambient pressure of 14.7, which is also the atmospheric pressure found down here at sea level on planet Earth. With this EVA in the books, Rick Mastracchio now has 9 spacewalks to his name for a total cumulative time of 53 hours and 4 minutes, moving him up from 6th to 5th on the all-time endurance list. Meanwhile, Steve Swanson just completed his 5th EVA for a total time of 27 hours and 58 minutes. This was the 179th spacewalk in support of station maintenance and construction, giving a total time of 1,122 hours and 88 minutes of spacewalking time for station. That's a cumulative total of over 46 and a half days of EVA work on this orbiting laboratory. But again, all tasks being completed as expected, tracking no issues with adding in the new MDM and taking out the old one. Also, the SPDA door task going quickly for astronaut Steve Swanson. The two again inside of the Quest airlock, waiting for that repressurization to complete.
Houston, airlock on 1, we're in step 8 of the crew lock repress portion of the Q card. And in 1 minute, the delta P between the P1 and P2 was about 2.5. Do we need to perform the star block?
Koichi, the wait was 2 minutes. We're just crossing the threshold, and we're taking a look right now.
Okay, copy that.
And should hopefully be reacquiring video communication with the station in the next few minutes. So we should hopefully be able to see Mastracchio and Swanson make their way back inside and begin to doff their EMUs following this successful spacewalk.
And then give it a minute to stabilize.
Yeah, Ricky, I copy that. So I'm waiting for another 1 minute and then check the delta P.
Koichi, looks good. We're go for step 9.
Okay, copy that. Proceeding to step 9.
Getting video back inside, you can see Expedition 39 Commander Koichi Wakata standing by at the hatchway. One quick correction for the stats on this EVA. This was the 179th in supportive station. The cumulative time, 1,123 hours and 28 minutes. Again, continuing to stand by for the finish of the repressurization of Quest. Once it's back up to the requisite pressure, Koichi Wakata will open up the hatchway between the crew lock and the equipment lock here. They'll bring Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson back inside and get them out of their EMUs following the successful spacewalk. Again, the spacewalk ended today at 10:32 a.m. Central Time with a total elapsed time of 1 hour 36 minutes. So getting closer now to finishing up that repressurization. Once that's finished, Koichi Wakata will open the hatchway back up between the equipment lock and the crew lock, bring Mastracchio and Swanson back inside and get them out of the EMUs. Again, the two successfully completing today's swap out of a failed MDM, multiplexer, demultiplexer, a relay computer responsible for controlling a number of systems on the outer portion of station, as well as providing ground controllers insight into the health status of a lot of the cooling systems and other truss devices on the outboard portion of station. Steve Swanson also completing the get-ahead task of clipping 2 lanyards from SPDM or SPDA doors, opening the way for the station's Dexter robot to eventually interact if necessary. Crew back inside after only 1 hour and 36 minutes of a planned 2 hour and 30-minute EVA, so moving along very quickly, not running into any issues. The airlock right now at about 13 psi, continuing to pressurize back up to 14.7, which is the ambient pressure inside of the station, identical to the pressure down here at sea level on planet Earth. Koichi Wakata starting to prep the hatch for its opening. Should be coming on the next couple of minutes as the repress is almost completed. On the other side, Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson standing by in their spacesuits, ready to come back in, get out of them following a successful EVA today.
Houston, Airlock on 1, we are complete with the repress cue card, and at this time we're going to message 38-0277 post-EVA.
Houston concurs.
And with that, the repress is completed. Koichi Wakata now moving over to the post-EVA task list.
2.
First step will be opening up that hatch.
Houston, Airlock on 1, looking at the execution note, does not include the step 1, but I believe you need to perform step 1.
Koichi, yeah, that's for the water recharge, which will occur later. You're going to pick up in step 2. Right here in step 1, yeah, we're going to have to do that one first.
Okay, copy that. Thanks.
So Wakata now working the IV hatch, the hatchway between the crew lock and the equipment lock. Opening that up now. Once that's opened, Rick Mastracchio and Steve Swanson will be free to float back in and begin taking off their EMUs following today's successful spacewalk. And with that, the hatchway now open, the astronauts free to float through. They'll be assisted by Commander Wakata throughout all of the EMU doffing activities. And it looks like Steve Swanson coming through the hatchway first. First step once Koichi Wakata brings them back inside will be to remove that safer device from the back of the portable life support system on the backside of these astronaut spacesuits. So Wakata has the first safer off of Steve Swanson. He'll temporarily stow that in a safe location inside of the crew lock. And here again we can see Steve Swanson back inside, safer removed. He'll get his EMU attached back inside of the Quest airlock and begin taking off all the other components. The tool belt on the front will be the first to come off, followed by the gloves and then eventually the helmet. Meanwhile, Rick Mastracchio is still back inside. He'll move in once Wakata gets Swanson attached here. So Rick Mastracchio now being brought inside the inner portion of the Quest airlock by Commander Koichi Wakata. First task will be to pop the safer, the simplified aid for EVA rescue off of the portable life support system on Mastracchio's EMU, where it'll also be temp stowed, and then Mastracchio will be attached into the wall himself, straight across from Swanson. Then they'll be able to begin taking off the EMUs.
And Station Houston on 1. Koichi, just a reminder, we need you to take your watch off here before you get too far down the road, and we can watch over your shoulder. Thank you, sir.
Again, you can see Steve Swanson on the left, Rick Mastracchio on the right. Getting plugged back into the Quest airlock, the EVA finishing about 30 minutes ago at 10:32 a.m. Central Time, with an elapsed EVA time of 1 hour 36 minutes. So Koichi Wakata working to get Mastracchio's EMU attached to the inside of the Quest airlock. Once they get a hard mate on that, they'll be able to begin taking off their EMUs, their spacesuits. And so there he is, Rick Mastracchio, now attached to the right side of Quest.
Houston, airlock on 1, we have completed to step 9, and then is the glove photos required?
Yeah, Koichi, we need at least Swanee's gloves done.
We'll take Swanee's glove photos then.
So Wakata removing the mini workstation from the front part of Steve Swanson's EMU. I'll be doing the same with Rick Mastracchio, removing all their tools. After that, the two will begin taking off various parts of the suit, starting off with the gloves, and then moving on to the helmet, eventually doffing the whole suit itself. The two back inside, repress, which ended the EVA starting at 10:32 a.m. Central Time. Total EVA elapsed time of 1 hour and 36 minutes. And we'll stay on the air for a few minutes more, wait until they get the helmets off, and see a few thumbs up from the crew before we begin to wrap up today's coverage. But again, everything going exactly as planned. The crew moving well ahead of their timeline. Originally baselined as a 2.5 hour EVA being completed in just a little over 1 hour and a half. Getting the spare MDM installed, the failed one uninstalled and back inside, and also completing the get-ahead tasks on the SPDA doors. Now back inside the airlock, both mini workstations removed, all the tools out of the way. Wakata will do some quick photographic inspections of Steve Swanson's gloves. The gloves, as mentioned earlier, during the spacewalk, checked out throughout, as well as after, very closely, as all of the astronauts' interaction during their EVAs happens with their hands, translating, working on different tasks, and staying in place. So they're the most vulnerable point for things like nicks, cuts, and abrasions. So they check them thoroughly throughout the spacewalks, and then once they're back inside, so Wakata will take a few photos of Steve Swanson's gloves that will be further evaluated by teams down here on the ground.
Okay, Swanee, we start from the left above. First one is a full palm. And the next one is the thumb. So thumb facing index finger. Yeah, first one is, okay, and the next one is the index finger. It was dark. Okay, that's better. Then right glove, palm. Yeah, sorry, it was dark.
Again, going through a quick satellite handover, reacquiring video communication soon with the station. Right now inside the Quest airlock, Koichi Wakata continuing to do those quick glove photo inspections on Steve Swanson. Following that, they'll run through a few more procedures before they begin taking off the EMUs, starting off with the gloves.
Houston Station on 2 glove photos for Swanee is complete, and now we're going to step 12 of message 277.
Copy. Thank you, Koichi.
And with that, Steve Swanson and Rick Mastracchio beginning to remove their gloves. That'll be the first things they get off the spacesuits. And so the first glove off for Mastracchio, the first glove off for Swanson as well. And with the gloves coming off, next comes the astronauts' helmets. Again, Steve Swanson on the left, Rick Mastracchio on the right. And Rick Mastracchio's helmet off, checking the inside if for any potential water. We'll do the same with Swanson's helmet. This is now just kind of a regular checkout since last July's EVA. So again, the helmet's off now. Steve Swanson on the left, Rick Mastracchio on the right, back inside of the station, following a successful 1 hour, 36-minute spacewalk. The spacewalk began when they switched their suits over to battery power at 8:56 a.m. Central Time, ending 1 hour, 36 minutes later at 10:32 a.m. Central when the repressurization of the Quest airlock began. The two completed both tasks on the list today, replacing the failed external multiplexer demultiplexer with the spare on board. Mission controllers here in Houston are reporting that the MDM is showing signs of good health and performing as expected. Now that they're back inside, the two astronauts with some updated stats. That was the 9th spacewalk for Rick Mastracchio, giving him a total time of 53 hours and 4 minutes, moving him up to 5th on the all-time endurance list. And for Steve Swanson, that was his 5th, bringing him a total cumulative time of 27 hours and 58 minutes. This is the 179th EVA in support of station maintenance and construction for a total time of 1,123 hours and 28 minutes, or just a little over 46 and a half days of total spacewalking time. With that and successful EVA in the books, we'll go ahead and wrap up our coverage for today. This is Mission Control Houston.